this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Just going to do a bit of work on my azalea. I've only got the one, flowered reasonably well this year. Previous year, well, I think we could safely say it didn't exactly flower, but we did find out what colour the blooms were. I think I had 2 or 3. Flowers have all gone over now, so it's quite important to remove the seed heads. It's basically got to be done individually. There's no other way. There isn't an easy way to do this. You've just got to search them out where they are and take them off. Just pinch them off at the base. They do come off easy, it's not a big deal, but it is something that's just tedious and needs to be done because it will sap the strength. You also find that where the base of the blooms are, there tends to be a surge of budding around that area. So again, you need to be careful taking the bloom seed heads off, or you'll pinch off little buds as well. I mean, this wasn't a mass blooming by any means, so this job for me this year isn't that bad. I've seen some azaleas that have literally got hundreds of blooms on, and this really has still got to be done. One way or the other, this needs to be done. As I say, I'm lucky there's not too many. And if you catch them before the blooms really die right back, it's actually easier because you've got the colour, you can follow the colour, and they come off quite easily. But as I said, it just does need to be done. It's just one of those tedious bonsai jobs that it is a fingers job. It's almost impossible to do with scissors or pruning shears or whatever you use. Almost impossible. It's just got to be done methodically. Just go over each part of the tree where there are some. Just pinch them back. And then the other job that you do once this is finished is have a look at what shape the tree is in, because at the time that they bloom, they also seem to have a surge in growth. It all seems to come together. You know, I mean, a lot of other types of shrubs, you get the surge of growth followed by the blooms. They all seems to go off together. So as a consequence of this, once you've got these seed heads out into their little in their little areas where they've grown, you then need to have a look at the shape of the tree and see what's happened to it. While you were busy admiring the blooms, growth was going on, and some of that growth will be quite vigorous, some of it will be quite weak, and it all needs looking at. You need to have a go over the tree and see what buds you've got, what extensions are forming. Has the shape of your tree been lost in places? Your outline? All those sorts of things you can do at the same time. I think that's got them. May have missed the odd one or two, but I think that's the worst of it. No, I think I've got them all. So that's that bit, and then the other thing that needs doing on this is the base needs clearing up. 2 types of moss on here. Well, one's I think it's more a type of algae. This stuff is not very good. So basically I'm just going to scratch the surface and see how much of the rubbish I can get off. This type of moss, this I call it hairy moss, this is evil stuff. It digs right down into the pot. It's not like your normal sort of surface moss, which can be beneficial. Depends on your viewpoint. It depends what media you've got as well. But if you've got a media that tends to dry relatively quickly, a coating of the nice surface moss helps keep the moisture in. It's actually beneficial, but this stuff isn't. And if you've ever had it in a pot, the chances are you'll always have it. Unless you get, well, even then it can still come back. If you, when you repot, if you're one of those that gets rid of every bit of old media, you know, hoses off the roots, absolutely pristine roots, no media left at all, you might get rid of it, but otherwise it will just come back. But you can keep at it, you know, just every time you see some, pull it out. Every time you go for a walk round, admiring your handiwork and all that sort of stuff, you know, like we do, well, have a poke around while you're doing that walk around, just, you know, rather than just look. It's one of those cases where touching is beneficial and keep the tops of the pots clear. But as I said, this type of moss is almost impossible to get rid of completely. It will come back. But if you, I find if you rake the top like this and loosen it, when it starts to come back, it pulls out incredibly easy. But after time, the top of the bonsai pot becomes quite compacted. And you know, when it starts growing in that environment, you pull it and it just breaks off. It doesn't actually pull out. Oh, that's got the worst of it anyway. Tidies it up a bit. That'll do for now. Let's see the surface again now, just making sure I've loosened all the top. See here, that's roots of that moss. It's not roots of the plant. Right, so that's that bit done. Now this was potted wrong. What on earth entered my head, I don't know. I've mentioned it before. But, you know, if you're looking at it now, that's the front of the pot, or that's the front of the pot. And it's blatantly obvious that neither of those, oh, missed one. Neither of those are the front of the tree. There's just no way. So it's been planted sideways on. My logic is that the root system was such that that was the only way it would go in the pot for now. The idea being that next time it's repotted we should have a more even spread of roots. If you could be bothered, you could probably go back and find that repotting video and see it for real. But anyway, so I'm going to have a look at this as I view it, and I decided quite a long time ago that I would have that as the front. Now unfortunately, because of the way the flowers bloomed, this has been facing the wrong way for a while. So the leaves have sort of, I'm a terror for not turning my pots. You know, you should turn your pots really, quarter of a turn every week or something, just to keep the leaves evenly based. But you know, that's quite a nice front to the tree, and all the leaves are facing the front, but the tree heads backwards. Yeah, so it's got this little curve coming forward, then the whole of the rest of the branch structure heads backwards. And I think it would work better this way round. So we curve away and then we come towards and spread. But I need to, now I've got the blooms out of the way and got that bit done, I can now start these leaves to turn just by using light, because where it's kept it has to go out of the sun, direct sun, and the position it's in, it does, I just forget to turn it. So that's really the front. So what we're looking at here is, unless we want this heading off into the into cyberspace, these extensions are far too long. So I'm just going to take that one off completely and take that one off to a leaf where it will bud. Same again here, we'll just push that back. And this will also cause some back budding. Same here, take that off. looking at long extensions just to bring the shape back, and in some cases branches that were left because they had buds on, you know, they can now be trimmed, and azaleas will bud back into older wood. I don't want to go mad, but just want to try and bring the shape back and thicken bits up. Don't need to go mad. As I said, this is a new tree relatively speaking, so it hasn't got massive ramification yet, but it's coming on. You know, there's an awful lot more than there was when I first got it, that's for sure. The same over here, you know, this is breaking the outline. Here it's starting to thicken up quite nicely. This will form a nice pad, but we don't want it extending upwards too much. So we just take the tips out and it will back bud. Plenty of time left in the season for back budding and thickening up areas if you want. Right, so now I'm going to have to come around the other side to see what I'm doing with these extensions around this side because they're pointing the wrong way. And I just want to take the tips out, make sure we get plenty of budding and we don't extend upwards much. You know, some places you might think, well, I could do that bit growing a bit taller. Well, don't cut so much off then. And then you should get more height or width, whichever way you're looking at it. Now, I just need to have a quick check. If that's the front, then this bit here is out of order. So we'll take the long bits off. Just take this bit back in. This bit effectively points backwards, so doesn't want to be too there's too much of it and it'll take the edge off the view from the front. That's probably about it. You could say that if you snip every single shoot you will get a massive back budding. But you might withdraw so much energy from the plant in doing so that they end up being weak. So some shoots ought to be left to grow on, really. And thoughts for where it's going to bloom next time round. Crossing branch there, that's the next thing. I hope this bit thickens up a bit here. It's got a bare section there. I'm hoping to get some budding in there. This bit's a bit heavy here. Quite a lot of growth. So the problem is if you get very heavy growth like that, very complicated growth, when that decides to bloom next year, there won't be any room for the blooms. So you just need to thin out. Thinking now of blooming, the blooms are going to need some room. So that's my next set of thoughts, is where are the blooms going to be? Let's take some of the thickness out of some of the branches. So it's difficult to work with a tree where the leaves have all turned the wrong way and you're trying to work from behind. It'd be much easier to work at it from this side, but this isn't the front. I've already made my mind up, this isn't going to be the front. And I'm going to leave it at that, and I may have another go a little bit later in the year. So we've just tidied up the base, taken the seed heads off, and had a trim of any long extensions just to keep the shape, and then hopefully when I repot next time round we can repot with the correct angle. So there we go. I would probably, if I ever go to Windy Bank, which was where this came from, I would probably get another azalea. I probably wouldn't buy one at a show though, because at the show I'm sure the prices are marked up, and if you go to the nursery there are dozens and dozens to choose from, you know, from giant, you know, sort of 30-40-year-old ones to young things that have been grown on from cuttings. You've got the choices. You don't get those choices at a show. You know, they're only going to have so much display place, and they've got lots of other types of trees they want to do, you know, and they tend to take to shows the ones they think are going to sell at a show, which is not necessarily the same set of trees that would sell at a nursery when you visit. But I would like to go there and get another azalea. I do like them. I'm just getting the moss off the bark here at the base. It does tend to start climbing up the tree otherwise. Let's get back to the base. There we go, so a little bit of work on my azalea. As I said, it's odd working with a tree that's facing the wrong way, but when I put it back outside now, this is the side that will face the strongest light, and these leaves will all turn. It will take on a whole new look. Come back in 2 or 3 weeks' time, this tree will look quite different, because half of it will have turned towards this way and some of it won't. So it'll have 2 fronts. Or 2 backs, whichever way you want to look at it. Anyway, thanks for dropping by, and I'll see you again. I am now, I believe it's Friday the 26th, I think, Gavin's coordinated look at the title, What is a Bonsai? The collaboration of lots of different people, including me, is been set up as a premiere, which means it'll, at a certain time, it'll kick off. And Gavin will be there, so that as comments come in he can sort of talk about, answer them or whatever. You won't physically be able to hear him, I don't think. But I do believe that's at 3 o'clock this afternoon. I probably won't even get this posted by then. Because I think, what is it now? It's now, oh, it's just gone 1. I might get this done and be able to sit down and try not to fall asleep. That's no reflection on what the content is or anything like that. I'm just incredibly tired, but I will do my best to watch it as a premiere. If I don't see it as a premiere, it'll still be there to watch anyway, so let's hope it all goes well. I'm sure Gavin's pleased with the contributions, and yeah, it should be good. You don't get many in the bonsai world, collaborations, doesn't happen that often. Used to happen an awful lot in the orchid world, but even that seems to have dropped off to next to nothing nowadays. There's hardly any. Anyway, it's a tree that's coming on. Gradually over the years I will allow it to get bigger and bigger and taller. But at the moment I've managed to get it to bloom. It needs a repot to get it at the right angle so that it can be grown on. So it's a work in progress, but yeah, it's doing okay, considering it didn't have very good roots and has got potted at a funny angle. Bye now, see you again.